wild. Fame makes people go wild. Like, it's insane. I was like, fame, like, it's nothing. It's like, no one knew who I was. It didn't even name me. It was like female comedian. Like, you know what I mean? But they used a hot photo of me, so I was really stoked. So they used one of my photos for my birthday. I was like, what? I was like, thank you, Daily Mail. I was like, I don't know who you are, but like the reporter's name, I'm like, bless you. I need to thank them. I'm like, thank you so much. But it's just amazing how like that made people go really, and my adrenaline, it was like this weird feeling of like almost being scared, but then also really excited. Like also the fact that in the Daily Mail article, they used that photo and then a photo of me like being a dickhead at my friend's Coyote Ugly themed birthday party from earlier in the year. And it's like me with like a moose head being like really like in this costume that's like Coyote Ugly themed. And they were like, Elouise calls herself Australia's first attractive comedian. And I was like, oh my God, this is so funny. But I was like, fuck. And then I got then all of a sudden more people came and were commenting on my stuff. I had this random woman say like, your tagline's really offensive. There are a lot of attractive female comedians. Like, it's really offensive to call yourself that. And then I clapped back and I was like, I never said first female comedian. Yeah. I said first comedian. Watch my act before you at me, doll. Like, so condescending in persona though. And I posted that on Twitter and I posted it on my story just almost as like a bit of a back off. Like, this isn't serious. This isn't me making fun of women. I never put down women in my set. Because then like that's what also was really scary. It was that whole thing of like people know who you are sort of, and now they're just like can pick apart anything that you post, anything that you're saying. That was the scary part. Yeah. And that also, so getting the friend asking for clout made my adrenaline go boom. Like the anxiety was like a negative anxiety all of a sudden. I was like, I started to feel guilty. I started to feel like worried that I was in the wrong. Yeah. Kind of tried to get over that. And then that night as well, that's when I got the email from that comic that was like, you're more than just a beautiful comedian. Like you're so much more than that. And I was like, oh my God, she doesn't get it. Oh my God, she's offended by my my tagline. And I sent her this huge email back with a video of my set being like, by the way, I play a persona and this is why I call myself that, like panicking. Yeah. Being like, explaining the whole thing. Being like, I know that I'm more than this. I'm a trained actor and blah, blah, blah. Like it was, I look at that now and I got some advice from a comedy agent who's in Sydney, who's so lovely. And she was like, just next time, like, don't explain yourself. Yeah. Just be like, thank you so much for the feedback. I really hope you get to see my set one day. And hopefully you understand why I call myself that after you see it. Because you don't get Zach Galifianakis being like, oh, Between Two Ferns is actually a comedy thing and it's scripted. And everybody's in on the joke. Otherwise it wouldn't be funny, right?
Yeah. I'm thinking like it's similar to Chris D'Elia before he started messaging underage women.
Well, he used to message me. He used to message... I have the screenshots. He used to message me.
Are you the person that Billy Darcy was talking about on his podcast?
Did he? What did he say?
He mentioned that he knew someone from Perth who had received messages.
Yeah, me. It would be me. Yeah.
What the fuck?
It's me. But he never did anything like inappropriate. He just was like, yeah, come to my show. Yeah, I'm going to be in Australia these dates. And it was like, then he deleted messages. So I've got proof that it looks like I'm talking to myself in the messages because he deleted messages.
Fuck. That's fucking crazy.
How funny is that? I think I tagged him watching his special. Oh, it was when I was in New York. I was like, you know, Brent, is it Brent Morin? Is that his friend?
Yeah, Brent Moran or something.
Yeah, one of those, yeah. I was a huge fan of him and Chris. Like, Chris is still really funny. I was just a bit like, the stories that came out, I was like, Jesus Christ.
Oh, no way.
It's a lot. Like, it's a lot. It's just also just like... I saw the funniest tweet where it was basically like, men know everything until it comes to the age of the girl that they're fucking. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's so funny. He's like, I didn't know like that they were 16. It's like, dickhead, like find out. Like, it was also like, I was young. I was probably like 20. I was 23 when I was in New York, 24. And he like messaged me after I commented being like, are you doing any shows in New York while I'm there? And he messaged me saying like, I think he DM'd me being like, hey, these are the dates that I'm there. And I was like, fuck, like I'm in LA that day or whatever. And it was really, really innocent. And I was like, thanks for messaging me, like huge fan of yours. And then when I was watching his special, I tagged him again. He's like, thanks for watching. Like, I was like, oh, like Chris D'Elia, like, you know, and I'm so embarrassed. Like if I show you guys the screenshots, please don't judge me too hard. But I look like such a fangirl and it's so embarrassing. But I was so in awe of him. Like I was such a big fan of his, and then to have like messages like I thought he was hot. Like I was like, oh my god, like he's messaging me. Like it's a bit like, you know, flattering. And the fact that he was like, I'm coming to Australia, and I saw his show in Perth, and I was like, great show tonight, and he was like, thanks, and blah blah blah, but never went further than that. It was just so funny that when everything came out, I checked the messages and I was like, oh, he deleted messages. Because I remember, like, you know, when someone unsends a message, it notifies you.
Yeah.
And I remember like getting all these notifications one day, and it was like, remove message, but it never says from who.
Yeah.
And then when I looked, I was like, oh, it must have been him.
That's fucking
insane.
How funny is that?
Yeah.
But I was like, you know, when you're a famous white man, it's like, hello, like, he's like, don't have to be white, sorry. Just in general, like, I guess he probably was like, yeah, like, bitches love me. But it's just, I mean, I just sort of reply to people that are like, hey, like, you know, but I think it's very different being like a woman in like that kind of industry, like, you know, it's you get a different kind of message. Luckily, not too many creepy messages.
I wonder how many people he would actually respond to, or if it was only ever women.
I know
that he like found attractive or didn't.
Well, I was gonna say, because I was like, why respond? Like, who the fuck am I to respond to?
Yeah,
you know
especially
what I mean?
to be like, to give you dates when really he could have just been like, look on my profile. You know what I mean?
It's really funny. Like I don't know. It's really funny. Like I remember when I found out like all that stuff had come out, and I looked and I posted it, and all these comics were like pissing themselves, being like, this is so funny. And I was like, I'm so embarrassed. Like, no, it's like normal. It's normal to be, you know, and I think like for me, when someone responds, whether it be like, you know, a guy or a girl, I'm always like, thank you so much. Like if it's a really nice message, like you want to respond. Or if it's like about dates and stuff. I post all my dates on my story though. I feel like it's a bit annoying to constantly reply to people being like, these are my dates. Like, it's like I post them. I don't know. It's really funny how,
that's insane.
How funny is that? But it's also like, I don't know, like maybe he liked my photos. I don't know. So funny. So funny. And it's also just funny that like the way that he kind of reacted to all of that, I don't know, was interesting. It kind of made me go like, that was it? Like that's your apology kind of thing?
Yeah, that's the thing that's
he fucked
like kind of annoyed. Yeah, like you said, you went back and tried listening to him because we were both like massive fans.
Massive fans.
Oh, of course, and so was I. Like something about his style and stuff was hilarious.
Just
but
that
you hear it all the time.
Give a fuck sort of attitude.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck. Calling everyone babies, go to the fucking cabin, suck and fuck,
same
blah
thing
blah blah.
You were saying
and then
as well with like the satire of like, you know, I went into a coffee shop and the guy said he didn't know my name. Ha ha.
It's definitely that vibe. And like, I don't know, that's something about like, I think I tried to sort of like watch him and listen to him, and I was like, I feel weird. And also, how funny is this? I remember I sent him a message, like, I think I sent him a message being like, oh, by the way, I did my first stand-up set, blah blah blah, like this week. Do you have any advice or something? And he never replied to that. But when it came to me being like, hey, like, when are you going to be in town or whatever? He'd be like, yeah, come. Like, it's just so funny. And I'm like, you're not even like messaging for the right reasons. How funny is that?
In hindsight.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to listen after someone. It's hard to like, I don't know. Then I laugh because I go, oh, Jerry Seinfeld dated a 17-year-old when he was like 30 something. And we kind of go, that was just the time. And it's like, yeah, but it was I feel like it's funny because, I don't know, it's like that should never be okay. And I also feel like it's definitely men sort of taking advantage of like their position of power.
Yeah.
That's why the whole Me Too thing is so like, I know it's a very, it's a hard movement because I think people are sort of like, well, then what are we supposed to do with these men when they fuck up? And it's like, I don't want to ruin their lives and be like, you can never work in the industry again. But like, if I hug you at a gig and you touch my ass, fuck off. You know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't be backstage in a room. You shouldn't be around women if you don't know how to respect women. Like, that's fucked.
By that
How's
point
fucking
as well,
old
you
mate
should know how to act around.
Yeah, how's
Totally.
the actor that
Just
like
around
doesn't
people.
touch anyone? John
Who's
Wick.
that? Oh, John Wick.
What's his name? Keanu Reeves. Yeah, and you always see the photos, and like if he's meeting like fans, he's always got his hands just like off of
That's
them.
so funny.
Just
Yeah,
to be,
hover
you know,
hand.
yeah.
That could, I mean, that could be, or even just don't want to get germs. Pre-COVID, he was ahead of the times, you know. But I find it like I'm such an actor. Like, I'm very tactile, like maybe because I'm European as well. Like, even when I met you guys today, I was like, it's so weird shaking hands. I'm like, it's so formal. I'm so used to be giving people hugs and like, I don't see any problem with that. But it's so funny. The other night I was doing a gig and I went to hug, like I hugged everyone else because I know them. And I went to hug this guy and he went like this. I was so embarrassed. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I still like did the hug because I was like, I'm going to fall over. I was like, if I don't, and then I was like, it was so embarrassing. And he was like, I don't know you kind of thing. And I was like, am I going to get me too? Like I got so worried and then I couldn't stop laughing because then he was like, I was like, well, you should know me. Like I'm famous, like taking the piss. And he was like, oh yeah, like that AFL video. And I was like, so you do know me. And now you just made me look like a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
No, but I felt bad because I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be me too. Like I shouldn't, I need to be careful with how I am backstage. I probably with some comics because I'm just like, that's just the way I am. It's not me trying to hit on someone. I just am a very like huggy, tactile person.
Yeah.
Like I just touch people's arms when I talk to them. I think some guys are like, like they freak out and it's like shit. Like, because obviously this like movement, it goes both ways. Like, you know, there's no saying that men haven't been victims of, you know, assault or whatever backstage in a green room or whatever. It's like obviously I haven't heard that many stories in like the comedy world, but I obviously don't want to be making anyone feel uncomfortable.
Terry Crews isn't he quite a big like advocate? Didn't he have
someone grabbed his dick or something? But I think it was another guy
Another
who
guy,
did it,
yeah.
Oh, really?
which doesn't
Well, it doesn't change it. Yeah.
No, it's just like a respect thing. I think, you know, because it's really funny because then after that gig, I had 2 gigs in one night. It's like Perth's like New York City now. It's like the city that never sleeps. I did like 2 gigs in one night. And I went to like this other gig at Varsity Burgers. And there was this old guy, just like a creepy old guy. And I think he saw me like hug the other comics when I got there. And he was just probably drunk. And I'm not like, all men are fucked. Like, blah, 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 I can't believe he thought this. But he just was like, probably just drunk and like victim of his times and just like gross. And it was just, when I got off stage, kept wanting to hug me and touch me. And I was like, okay, that's, I went to shake his hand. I was like, that's enough. Like, I don't actually know you. It's different from like, I don't know. That was really odd, and I had like friends like pushing him away from me because it was just like it's a different vibe. Like me meeting you, being like, hello, nice to meet you, is so different from just being like, okay, we get it, like you've had your, you know, you said well done at the for the set, fuck off now. You know, there's like a difference, and it's hard because I think as women we're so used to being like polite because you don't want to piss a guy off. Like it's really weird how that's really scary as well because my act can be so triggering for some men. I've had guys come up to me after gigs who will be like, so you like really like your persona? And I'm like, oh, you'll have to find out, blah, blah, blah. You'll have to take me out to dinner first or something. And I heard one guy was like, no, look, are you actually like that or not? Like got really aggressive. And I was like, fuck, like, I'm like, what do you want me to say? Like, what do you want me to do? Like change my voice? Like, I don't know, like, I don't know what you want me to do. And it really freaks you out. Cause I just go like, what if I was by myself and someone did, like, that's the thing. I think a lot of people kind of go like, fuck the Me Too movement and all this bullshit. It's like, you guys have no idea how scary it is sometimes to be a woman when it's like a bunch of men. Like, obviously coming here today, you guys are so lovely. I don't feel unsafe at all. But in the back of your head, this is not offense to you guys. In the back of your head, you go, what the fuck could happen? You always are thinking like that as a woman. You're always going, what if these guys aren't nice guys? You know what I mean? It's like, it's just the way that your life is as a woman. And I'm sure guys have those moments too, where you're like, oh, I hope we don't like, you have a rumble or something like like West Side Story. Sorry, so you guys like we are the Jet Set. Like it's so funny how like some men just don't get it. It's like I can walk home by myself and be like shitting myself the whole time. Whereas I'm sure guys have those moments, but it's like, but I don't know. It's just a different vibe. It's a different thing, and I think like I don't know, being it sounds so funny like what I said before, but because I think the way things are changing, a lot of girls were told when they first started stand-up, don't wear that, guys will be funny to you backstage or they'll like try and hit on you or whatever. And I almost feel like I mean, I just dress like this normally. Like I don't wear a specific costume when I go on stage, but I almost feel like I'm pushing it so much that I'm like almost purposely wearing stuff that's a bit more revealing or figure hugging, not because I'm like, I want to show off my body. It's almost like, fuck you, like, this is what I'm wearing and you can't disrespect me because of it.
Yeah.
Which is, it's funny how, like, it's almost like guys like saying hello and be like, hey, like, I can't look at you. And I'm like, good. If that's the vibe, if that's the way it's going to be, if that's going to make you respect me, or like, if you're too scared to like talk to me, like, good. You know what? If that guy was scared to hug me, fine. Like, you know what? It's better than a guy trying to hug me too much, right?
Yeah,
I can't win. It's I don't know. It's funny.
Yeah, we had a guy, I'm trying to think of like similar sort of circumstances for like me, but were you there when we went to the Liquid Candy? I don't know if you were with us at the time, but we went to that Liquid Candy gig that was at Metro City.
Oh, okay.
And there was a dude there who was like, just off of his face.
Oh, grinding
my
on
God.
Josh.
Yeah, and he was straight up just grinding on one of our mates. And he kind of turned around and was like, you know, at the start, laughed it off. It was like, oh, you know, you're a bit cooked.
Yeah.
Move away sort of thing. And he just kept coming back and was just grinding on him the whole time. And yeah, eventually got to the point where our friend Josh was just kind of like, bro, you need to walk away, otherwise
Totally.
it's gonna, you know, a fight or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, this guy just he obviously was off, you know, on drugs or something, but just would
Even
not.
then, it's like people. It's like how funny. It's like that other thing that I saw. It's like men don't understand consent until you take them to a gay bar. It's the fact that like all of a sudden they're like, get the fuck off me. Like that's when you understand. Like, I'm not saying that you guys would be like that, but it's just funny how, you know, put it into perspective. If you're experiencing it, you're like, fuck, like, you know, you're like, leave me alone. And it's funny how even just saying, can you please leave me alone, isn't enough sometimes.
Yeah.
It's almost like you have to have that whole safety in numbers. And I don't know, I feel very lucky. Like, I haven't had that many bad experiences, but I think it's also because I've like called them out online, like really quick to be like, this fucking happened to me, and I'm not very, and people probably think I'm a bitch and that I'm touchy about it, or like I'm too sensitive, but I kind of was like, I'm proud of myself because I was like, I've used it all as a warning. I was like, almost like, don't fuck with me, because I will I will name and shame, or not name and shame you, but I will call you out.
Yeah, the more people that get called out, hopefully the less people do it, you'd think.
Yeah.
But
And I hope that like also that men aren't like scared to like, I don't know, because you know how some men do the whole thing of like, you can't do anything these days, you can't even fucking comment on how a girl looks nice or something. It's like, well, you can. It's like, and I think some women take it too far too, where they're just like, oh my God, you know, because we had some meetings happen. I actually couldn't attend them, but there were some meetings in a comedy scene here, sort of about like what we should do to make it more comfortable for women, and this whole thing of like, you know, we have to have a buddy system, or there needs to be you know, more than one woman on the lineup. And it's like, sorry, but like, if you're not good enough to be on the lineup, you shouldn't be on the lineup. Doesn't matter if you're, of course there should be more women and stuff on lineups, I'm not saying there shouldn't, but like, it's more the fact that it's like, that doesn't give you like a free pass to just be booked. And it's the whole thing of like, someone was like, some guy like, you know, apparently, I shouldn't say things specific, but like people just talking about stuff that's almost too sensitive, where it's the fact that it's like, that's just being in this, it is a male dominated world, but if you're that sensitive, if it's that little petty things, you shouldn't be doing comedy. If you can't handle that, you shouldn't be in the world if you can't handle, like, it's very different from like a guy being like, hey, like, would love to see that dress on the floor or something. Like, that's a lot. Like, don't. Or like hugging you and like, this has happened. Like hugging you and like, you know, touching your ass or something. Like, that's too much. That's obviously not okay. But if a guy's like, you look really pretty tonight, I'd be like, thank you.
Yeah.
That's okay. And I wouldn't be like, oh my God, why the fuck would you say that to me? Whereas like some women probably will go like, fuck. And it's like, fair enough if that upsets you, but you need to like, we're all learning and we're all progressing in like society. It's like, let men also learn, but also like there's a boundary. Like, I've had a comic, and I think he like probably really hates me now because I kind of posted the screenshots. I hid his name, but he basically, after a gig, all I did was like say hello, and like, I think I made a joke about him looking like Marlon Brando. I was like, I didn't know Marlon Brando was here because he was smoking on the wall outside the comedy lounge. I was just being a bitch. I met the Godfather, not fucking Streetcar. Sorry, that's so mean. No, but I just was joking, and I said hello, hadn't seen him in years. And then when I got home, I got all these messages from him and be like, so whose place, your place or mine? And I was like, what? What the fuck? I was like, why? When was that? When was that happen? When did you think? And I was like, sorry. He's like, blah blah blah. You're not on stage now. You're not your persona now. Like, and I was like, I'm sorry, but like, I don't hook up with guys shorter than me. Like, it's bad for my posture. And I was just like a bitch back. And maybe I shouldn't have posted. I posted the screenshots to my close friends, and I had a comic friend being like, post this publicly, like, just do it. And in hindsight, I'm like, should I have done it? But I'm kind of glad that I did, because then that's sort of like an example of like, you don't just like send messages like that. I'm at fucking work, basically.
Yeah.
If it was an office, people would be like, what the fuck are you doing? Go to HR.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying people in offices don't fuck each other. Of course they do, because how sad. Like, they have nothing else going on. But, no, I'm so mean. But it's more the fact that it's like, I'm just saying hello to you. It's like, I don't know, ask me out for a drink is fine. But to just be like, whose house are we fucking at? It's like, who the fuck do you think you are?
Yeah.
Who the fuck do you think you are? It's like, I would never, ever send a message like that. So why just some men think they can send a message like that? And I would never kiss a comedian. No, I just haven't. But I'm saying, like, you know.
Is this guy like an aspiring comedian in Perth?
Oh, yeah, I guess. Like, one of them.
Like, why? See, that's another thing as well. For it to go, like, he hasn't thought about that and gone, okay, why? Like, why would you do that and put yourself into that position if you are trying to be a comedian?
Well, it's just like, I mean, I think he's like probably a bit more established than me. He's been doing it for longer. And it's all, he was probably drunk, but all he had to do was apologize the next day. And maybe I beat him to it and I posted the screenshots and he was like, fuck this bitch, maybe.
She did it like that minute.
I was like, fuck this, like, you know, and he was like, how dare she? And like, maybe that was too much. And like, when that sort of, all the stuff happened, and I do look back at it now because I see him now and I feel bad. I'm like, oh God, I feel guilt. Like, I feel bad. I didn't do anything wrong.
Nah.
All I did was I used him as an example of what I don't want to be treated like.
Yeah.
And if people guessed who it was in my DMs, so it's not the first time that he's done that. And like,
he should be learning his lesson, if anything.
Totally. And I don't want to, I'm not trying to talk about him to like bring it up again to be like, and he is a piece of shit. I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he's someone that did a bad thing. Like, it's a silly thing that he did, right? Yeah. I don't hate the guy, but it's really weird because now I feel this weird sort of like, oh God, I feel bad. And I'm like, but I didn't do anything wrong. And that's what I think is so hard, especially for like female comics, is like things will happen to us and we keep quiet about it because we're like, well, fuck, like everyone's going to turn against me and be like, that bitch spoke about it and they shouldn't have. Like,
well, it's very similar as well, just with the Me Too like movement in general. Like, you look at a lot of these people that do come out and it's years later. Yeah. And they kind of try and use it happened years ago.
Yeah, why didn't you bring it up at the time?
Yeah, yeah. And it's like, these people have got to sort of process everything, and at that current time probably didn't look at it in the same way that they would look at it now.
Like, speaking about like a long time and processing it, like one of the first acting courses I ever took, and it was like, I was taking like the year off. This is before I went to Whopper. This a teacher from New York. So I was like in awe of him because I was like, I want to go to New York one day. And I can do accents. So he was like, oh, I love your accents. I really want to put you in a play of mine. And I was like, oh my God. Like, this is like towards the end of the course. Got my number. Yeah, already it's like, ugh. Like, but he was like an older man and he's like a director and a acting coach. I was like, this is great, right? Yeah,
it's like a network.
Yeah.
Was his name Harvey?
And his name was Mr. Weinstein. No, how funny would that be? If it was like, and I actually used to get messages from Harvey Weinstein as well. No, it was wild how he then messaged me and it was first very normal, like no weird shit at all. It was like, hey, like, blah, blah, blah. It's been great teaching you. I was like, thank you so much, blah, blah, blah. And then, then it got weird. And then it was like, I want to know more about you. Like, we should catch up for a drink and like all that kind of stuff. And I was like 20 years old. I was probably 19, 20. Maybe it would have been 20. I just graduated from uni and I was shitting myself. I was like, yuck, like, this is disgusting. I remember I told my boyfriend at the time and he was like, I don't know, boys get a bit like, I'm going to beat him up. It's like, no, you're not. But okay. Sure, Joel. But it was more the fact that he sent those messages and my thought process was, oh, this is what the industry's like.
Yeah, true.
That's what it's like and this is what happens and you just have to be careful because that's what it's like and you just have to deal with it. just don't be one of those girls that tries, that sleeps away to the top and all this bullshit.
Yeah.
It's just like
It's so messed up
stop like
as well.
shaming women, like shaming women for something that like sometimes they're put in these positions where it's like I don't know what else I can do.
Yeah. It's so messed up that has been like somewhat of a stereotype for that profession. Like you said, women sleeping their way to the top. It's like it's almost just been this thing that's just been sort of washed across the whole thing.
It's like this slut shaming thing of women. It's like this whole, like it's a really, really like double standard. And I think it's like only now like women are starting to be a bit more sex positive and stuff. Like I know I'm still struggling with like I don't really talk about sex and stuff on stage. I find it a bit like like I'm a good little wog girl, like I guess. But I'm also just like it's really funny how it's sort of don't be that kind of girl or don't and it's sort of just like we all like it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean less of you if you sleep with people. It doesn't mean, and it's like we've been told as women, probably as like ethnic women, like it's like that's your worth.
Yeah.
It's fucked. It's so messed up. And that's why in the industry, when you sort of hear the stories of like, and this girl had to take her top off in an audition, you just go, God, that might happen to me one day. And you just like accept it. And it's like, that's just the way it is. It's like, how fucked is that? Like I would never want to be in that position, but it was almost like you sort of would prep yourself to be like, that's just the way it is. So get ready.
At least they only asked you to pretend to give birth in
Oh my God. Oh, it's so funny. And even like I've had an audition where they were like, your character will have to be topless. Are you okay with it? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah. But I think if I did get the role, like you just have to, I think they're taking the precautions now where it's like, this is how much is going to be shown. Or if you're comfortable with it, you can like put stuff in your contract and stuff. It's very, and also like the guidelines of like, when you do sex scenes and stuff like that, like there's a lot of protocol now, but at the same time, like back in the day, I don't know, it's just like what happens, not even on set. It's like just in audition rooms like fucking Louis C.K. Like I find it so wild. Everyone's like, oh, poor Louis C.K. It's just like, what the fuck was that? What was that? I really wanted to do like a impressions thing where I just go on stage and go like this and go, well, it's really great to meet you too. And it's like, that's my impression of a girl backstage with Louis C.K. Going like this, going, I'm a huge fan of your work. No, that bit was really good. Can I go now? And she's like trying not to look at him. Like how fucked like what the fuck was that? And I don't think that he was like not a good comic. Like, okay, everyone's like he was the best. I was like, was he? Like I don't know. I don't really like I wasn't the hugest fan of his. Like I thought he was funny. But it's
he
wild,
seemed to like bounce back as well, and
and I don't know if he's not allowed to. Like, it's hard because that's the thing with the movement as well. It's like, are people allowed to bounce back from this?
It's like the whole, like Chris D'Elia, for example, the whole cancel culture. He's just disappeared.
Totally.
Louis C.K. got fucked on and is somehow managing to slowly come back. Like, listening to podcasts, he's doing live shit. Like, he's doing sets and shit.
And he's in that doco. He's in you'll see him later in the doco.
And then you've got... like Brian Callen, I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he has obviously been like cancelled. Oh yeah, came out straight away and said,
"Did you guys see that when they were talking?" Sorry to interrupt you.
No,
I heard.
It was like Brian Callen and like I don't know if Whitney Cummings was joking, but she's sitting there being like, "Oh yeah," and we were in the car and you like got your dick out and stuff, and I was like, "Oh my God!" Like, and she's just like laughing like she's one of the boys, and I was like, "Fuck!" Like that. I don't know if that. I thought.
What is that on an episode?
It's on a podcast. It was like a clip that was posted.
I think it was off of Whitney's podcast.
Yeah, it might have been, and it was like him sort of joking around, being like, "Yeah, like I did."
Yeah, you see all that shit as well. It's like when Chris D'Elia got done, and then on The Fighter and the Kid, they've like taken a segment of where he's found out they can save Snapchat stories or whatever it was. And you just see his face, and he's like, "What?" Like
that's so funny.
But
he's like, "Shit, sorry to interrupt you. Sorry, continue."
But yeah, Brian Callen, like he came out. Obviously, it wasn't that long after Chris D'Elia, so he's came out and said, "I'm not going to do what he's done. People will tell me to just sort of go ghost and lay low and all that sort of stuff. I'm not going to do that because I'm innocent." And he puts this massive spill out onto Instagram.
Yeah.
And then leaves The Fighter and the Kid. And now he's like trying to come back and he's doing shows, but he's doing like Patreon podcasting.
Yeah.
So he's like just not in the, like, he's not in the social fucking whatever anymore. And it's like, doesn't that make you look guilty?
A little bit.
Like,
But the
if you're
problem with
not
that is
guilty
the
and-
fighter and the kid is owned, like the people who own the fighter and the kid. Like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
company that produces it are the ones who said that they wouldn't have him back.
Yeah, but that's
So
the
if
thing.
he
though.
was,
I
if he was given the option, I have no doubts that he would
Well,
have
yeah,
come back.
yeah, maybe he
eventually.
would have. But in that case, wouldn't you just take your Fighter and the Kid podcast, which is making shitloads of money,
and go to
and
Patreon.
go somewhere else,
Yeah.
or just do it solo and independently?
Oh, no, I'm not sure like how that. I don't even know. Like I feel like there's so many.
Because obviously
You don't know all
sponsors and
the,
stuff come into play.
Yeah, and you probably like I don't know if you guys have watched that little Dave Chappelle like little bit that he just posted, little video. I think it's on Instagram. I just shared it. It's basically about him talking about like the Chappelle show and how like they
Not
own
to watch
HBO
it.
like owns not to
Yeah.
watch it because it's
Yeah.
basically he doesn't own it because of contracts that he got told to sign. So it's like it's a very complicated thing. I also think like that's sort of what they've been advised to do, like because Aziz Ansari did it as well, and like at the same time, it's really hard because I also think like. I like when people are like I think they're innocent or I think that they're guilty. I'm like it's a very blurred line. It's basically a cancel culture I think is bad because it's also the fact that I'm not trying to be like Louis CK should never gig again. Like I just think it's fucking wild that like he did that for so long and
Gotta
didn't like
live with it.
get help. Like I don't know. Like
Yeah.
I'm like well, how many men need to go see therapists? Like I don't want to date another guy until he's like yeah I see a therapist. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't need to be your therapist. Like please like
Yeah.
it's more the fact that like we can't just like cancel people because then how do they learn? It's like then they're gonna have all these fans that are like yeah I think you're fucking innocent and that is okay what you did. It's like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
doesn't help anybody. It's not okay. Like we all learn like God I've done some dumb shit in my past and like we probably all have and like it definitely plays on my mind of like oh God could that get me cancelled or something? And it's like it probably could, but at the same time we've learned and we've grown.
Yeah.
And I obviously feel like with Chris D'Elia, like I hope that he learnt from that, but I also hope like apology wise, fuck, some people are bad at apologizing.
Yeah.
Apologies are really that's I think sometimes the big telltale of like whether they're actually like what was a recent like scandal that just came out and I was like that was a shit apology. I'm trying to think. God, I can't think. Was it a comic or an actor or something? I don't know.
Oh, I feel like I know.
Wasn't
Did you
it-
post it?
Didn't
I
Kevin?
think
I feel like I know
have.
what you're on about.
Didn't Kevin Spacey like after the whole thing came out about him
That apology
manipulating that,
was so
young
bad.
dude? Didn't he come out and go, "Sorry, I've been gay this whole time"?
Yeah, it was
And,
almost like I've come
yeah.
out and that's why it's okay that it's
Yeah,
like no babe,
I
just
was-
you being closeted isn't enough of an excuse.
Yeah.
Like that's even worse. Now you've started this whole like this what you're perpetrating this like ideal that like all gay men are pedophiles. Like what the
Yeah,
fuck? Like it
yeah.
was that was bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's a way to just be like I was wrong and I'm working on, of course I posted it. Basil Zemplis.
Oh yeah.
The video that
Basil
I
done?
made. So the video that I made about Basil Zemplis was about I was taking the piss out of his apology. Fuck, people came for me that too because they're like, the nose and the ears is like racist. I was like, I'm Greek, I can make fun of Basil Zemplis, okay?
Yeah.
And how he looks. Like, I'm sorry that I don't have a big nose and big ears. But like, yeah, he's basically his apology was like, I forgot I was the mayor of Perth, and that's why I made those transphobic comments, being like, men have a penis, women have a vagina.
Joe, I didn't even know he was the mayor of Perth until
Literally, like, why would you? We don't even need a mayor of Perth.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was.
Like it was in like literally until these comments came out and I knew who he was, and then it's like under his name it's mayor of Perth. I'm like, how the fuck do you do that?
Didn't he
Literally.
commentate
Like, how do
the
you
footy
fuck
or
up that
something?
Oh
much?
yeah, he used to commentate the footy.
Yeah.
He's a media guy. He's like a newsreader,
Yeah.
and it's obviously, of course, he won. It's like Trump becoming president. It's like everyone's like, I know who he is.
Yeah.
It's almost
Yeah.
like that's what it is. Like people recognize his face and his big nose, and they're like, we're gonna vote for him. It was like who voted? Like 10 people.
Yeah. No one
That
under
was
the
just
age
such
of
a bad
60.
apology, like that, and I couldn't help myself and make a video.
Yeah.
I was so nervous to post that one though, because I was like, because like after I was like, didn't even like get to. I'm sorry, I'm like jumping like this, but even the when the video went viral, the AFL one, it was like such a high for 3 days, and then like when all the shit happened, and I had like other comics like coming for me being like, you got to take that tagline out of your bio. I was like, bang,
Yeah.
the worst like anxiety like I've ever had. because it's almost like that feeling of like everybody's watching you.
Yeah.
And you get I can really imagine how these guys feel, and I'm not saying that like they're innocent and what they did wasn't wrong, but I can imagine it'd be fucking like, you know, like traumatic being like all these people hate me or think that I'm a creep and all this shit. But it's also like cancel culture's it's a fine fucking line. Like it's wild.
It's like we're still
It's
coming
like
up with the guidelines as we go along.
We are. And
definitely.
it's like that's why I'm almost like, I don't know. I don't think like Louis CK shouldn't be gigging, but I'm also just like, I don't know. It's really hard for me not to just be like, are you fucking joking?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's
felt-
so hard.
I felt like when the whole Chris D'Elia thing first came out, I kind of like felt sorry for him. And watching other podcasts and hearing like, you know, Santino and Brendan Sharp and all that sort of stuff talk about it. And like Brendan's like crying.
Really?
And
oh, God.
it's like, oh shit, like this is happening. Like this is real.
My
And
hero.
yeah,
But
I was
everyone
like, fuck.
just
And
went,
then, yeah,
"Nah,
that's the
I
thing.
don't know
as soon
Chris
as,
like that.
as
We
soon
don't.
as everything
Who's
started
him at the
coming
store?
out, yeah, as soon as all of this like evidence started pouring out, everyone's just like, oh, I didn't know what he did. I only ever seen him at gigs, and even then, I like Brian Callen. I never gigged with him. I never toured with him, and it's like, but you were fucking best
Aren't you
mates.
like bum buddies with him?
Yeah, like how do you
I was
not
like,
know
are you
what's
guys like
going
a
on?
couple? I just find that like that's what's so weird. Like that they that sort of turning a blind eye.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of men do that, and I think that's the big thing about the industry. It's like you guys need to, male comics especially, need to call out their friends in the industry and actually keep an eye out for that stuff. Like, don't say I never noticed. Be like, hey, maybe like don't like, you know, message that comic, or like maybe that wasn't the right thing to say.
Yeah.
Because it shouldn't be on us as women to always call it out, because how wild is it when like we do call it out and then we are the bitches who called it out, like the sensitive,
And then you're
you
a
know,
quote unquote fat ugly
a fat ugly
slut.
slut. I'm a fat ugly slut. And also like, honestly, Ricky Nixon's a great agent. Best thing that's ever happened to me. But yeah, it's like, it's wild that it can almost like backfire as a woman. So it's like, why can't men be allies and just help us sort of like cut that shit out, almost like be the middleman.
Yeah.
And you know, because it's like it's a full responsibility altogether, like as a community. It's like, you know, when we're talking about like Black Lives Matter or, you know, the LGBTQA plus community, it's like, well, we need to like look out for each other. It's one thing to just be like, that person's really racist, and instead of being like, hey, you can't say things like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So instead of just going like, oh, like you shouldn't say things, but I hope someone tells them. It's like,
I have to admit, I felt like guilty for doing that. Like I work, well, I won't name names, but I've like worked with people
totally
that have been very like racist.
yeah.
He's talking about you, Sean.
Yeah.
Sean,
And they
I don't believe him. He's got Jordans on.
yeah. They like pass it off as like a joke because I'm a white male and they're a white male, that I'm just,
But you're allowed. You should be in on it.
yeah, that I'm just kind of like, oh yeah, that's funny, or whatever it is.
You're like,
And
no, doll.
and like they'll say things and I kind of like walk away from the, you know, the conversation, whatever's happening, and just kind of think to myself like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Like, and I've never noticed it like I've never really experienced it like actually being around someone who is like genuinely racist.
Yeah.
And then having that, I was like, what the fuck? Like, I need
Yeah.
to say something. But then, like, for me, I don't really like confrontation. So then for
Of
me to go up
course.
to, like, a dude at work and be like, you shouldn't be saying
Don't
that
say
shit.
that.
Yeah,
It's hard. It's hard to do that. And
Yeah.
it is, and I totally get that. It's almost the fact that like when the movement started happening, like the Black Lives Matter movement, it was wild how like, you know, even just with family members, like even my like my dad, like love my dad, but like they're again like a victim of their time, and for them like the stuff that they would say or be like, no, like that's, you know, blah blah blah, like it almost just like, oh, that's because they're like my grandmother. You'd be like, okay, I'm not gonna try and change my grandmother's, you know, what she says, like that's, you know, that's too hard. But when it comes to like your parents, when it comes to like friends and stuff, you've got to, I guess, at least try, but it's not easy. Like I totally understand how you feel. I feel weird being in Perth because there's a lot of people that have really like homophobic and racist material. And it's really hard to sit there and watch it and go, who's going to be the one to tell them?
Yeah.
Who's going to be the one to tell them?
Welcome to the back shed of Australia.
Yeah.
And obviously that's not me being like, I'm not trying to be like, it's all Perth comics. Like, I'm sure there's comics every city that are like that. It's just the fact that it's really hard to not go, fuck, like who is going to be the one? Because, and they're guys that are doing well, like it's not, but the thing is they won't do well in certain cities because, especially Sydney and Melbourne, and they'll probably look at Sydney and Melbourne and be like, oh, they're so like PC and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, times are changing. If you're not going to get with the times and you can only make jokes that are like that, I don't think you should be...
Yeah, that's like, you need to be
doing well
just
in comedy.
Diverse, really, you know. You need to be able to...
Yeah.
Like, create material that isn't just on one thing. And
totally.
It's, you know...
And it's like, there's people that are still like in Perth, like, oh God, I shouldn't say it, but I'm going to. Like, you can't wear a shong sam on stage.
A what?
You know what a shong sam is? Like a Chinese dress, like those Chinese dresses.
Oh, right.
No.
Like, there's a comic in Perth who wears those on stage. And I'm like, that's racist. You can't do that. And people will be like...
I'm trying to picture what that is.
Like a shong sam's like a...
Like a kimono?
Like, not like a kimono, but like a... You know those like Chinese little dresses? They're like usually red. And
I think I think I
There's
know.
Like
like
a
a
neck thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they wear them on stage. It's like... it's not a costume. This is like cultural dress. If I wore a sari on stage, are you joking?
Yeah.
Like, it's just like... Who... I get it, maybe... Like, and she's an older comic... and like very good, but I'm just like, do you really have to like who?
What does it add to the comedy? You know?
That's the thing.
Doesn't
It's like,
add anything,
doesn't
but
add
it
anything.
probably offends someone.
Yeah.
So what's the
Totally.
point?
So what's the point? And I
Yeah.
feel like a little bit. Then I get worried. I'm like, am I being too PC? But it's like, times are changing. Like, let's just get with it. Like, stop celebrating Australia Day and get with the fucking times. Like, you know.
That's like, it's such a big thing for like homophobic like slurs and like slandering and stuff for our culture. Like you were saying, you know, victim of the times. For the older generations, a lot of it is like racial know, comments and stuff. For us, I feel like, you know, when I was in primary school, you would call people names that were homophobic slurs and it was like nothing.
It's almost like that was...
Now
that
it's
was,
like you cannot say those words.
No. And even it's like, it's sort of like, I don't know, it's funny how people are like, yeah, but I'm not saying it like that. And it's like, it doesn't matter. And I think, you know, obviously there is like a spectrum of like how far people go with this stuff. Because I feel like for me, like I call myself a wog like all the time. And I think some people, like my uncle got really funny when I said it on the Today Show. He was like, felt funny when you said that. And it's funny because like, I guess for them, it was such a negative thing.
True.
And for us, it's like we're trying to reclaim it. And like, I'm not trying to say anything bad about being a wog. I'm just like, that's what I am. Like, and I'm not, and if it was a white person calling me a wog, I'd probably be a bit like a white. I'm white. Like, I'm not sorry. I mean, like a, you know, Anglo, like a wasp calling me that. I'd be like, oh, how dare you? Yeah, if you called me a wog, I'd go, how dare you in those glasses? No kidding. I wear glasses too, don't worry. I'm just wearing my contacts right now. Because it's funny, like I make jokes about Italians in my set, and I was told, this is in Sydney, I was told by one of the judges at Raw, like, make sure you mention that you're Greek just to be safe. Because that's how, like, progressed they are in Sydney and, like, Melbourne. It's like, everyone's, like, really, really careful. Because, and maybe people are getting a bit more sensitive, but I'm like, I don't know, if you're not smart enough to not make jokes that aren't, like, offensive to people, like, I don't know. Like, not trying to be, like... Like, people think my set is offensive because I say that I'm hot on stage. And I'm like, if you're, like, it's not my fault, like, if you think you're ugly. And people think that's offensive.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is it? Like, that's funny to me. But I'm like, if I put race into that, it'd be very, very different.
Yeah.
Like, of course that'd be offensive.
Yeah.
I suppose it's contextual as well, because, like, Ricky Gervais is a good example with, like, his Christianity jokes.
Babe, he's fucking he's on that line. Like, it's so good, though. I love it.
He's a fucking master.
Even,
and Dave Chappelle does it too.
Yeah.
And people will be like, his jokes are really transphobic and stuff. And I'm like, I don't think we need to think, like, that his jokes are all... what he thinks. He's telling jokes.
Yeah.
And I think that's why comedy is on this It's
Yeah.
really, because for me, I'm like, I'm telling jokes where I'm like, I'm more pretty than you. And people are like, how dare you say that? It's like, go see a therapist, babe.
Yeah.
You know, it's a joke. If you're going to be upset by that, it's like there's something else going on. You're projecting something else. It's like, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying like, you know, I'm not doing a Pete Evans being like, I'm a neo-Nazi, like, please.
Yeah, he's just a whole. I was gonna say he's just a whole other kettle.
That's a
of
whole
fish,
other
that
kettle of
guy.
fish. Anyway, sorry, but like, you know what I mean? It's there's a lot of I don't know. I guess for other people things aren't funny. For some people that are funny for others, like, you know.
There's enough content nowadays, so it's like, just if you don't like what you're looking at, change the channel.
Totally. And it's like, even at comedy shows, it's like, you know, there'll be people in the crowd that are vibing, and I'm like, yes, I got those people. And those people that are like watching, hating it, and I'm like, good, you don't get it. Like, and that's the thing. I think I was always so worried. I was like, oh my God, I didn't get the whole crowd. And I was like, I don't care if I don't get the whole crowd so much. I obviously have to work, like, and I've worked on that, and I feel like now I can. There's always going to be people in the crowd that don't like you.
Yeah.
It's like life. There's always going to be people in life that don't like you. But as long as I'm not like offending people, like, you know, putting down like a minority or like that's all that, you know, except for Italians, like they're free range.
Just quickly with like you were saying with the like nudity and sex scenes and stuff in acting, you sign contracts and it's very, you know, like by the book.
Yes.
How does it work for like racism? Like, you know how you watch movies and a guy will play like a white hillbilly racist.
Yeah. Oh God.
So like,
I honestly feel
work?
like it's that must be a lot. I feel like there's got to be. I don't know. I know that I'm friends with Catherine Langford, who is in 13 Reasons Why.
Okay.
Which is she's from Perth.
Can you get her on the podcast?
I'll see what I can do. I'll see
I,
what I can do.
I would fangirl so
she's
hard.
amazing.
Even better if she leaves us a videotape to watch on the podcast.
Oh no, she's amazing, very talented girl. And she was telling me about, because I caught up with her, she was back in Perth just after filming, I think, season 2. And I said to her, I was like, how was it? Just because that show, like,
so confronting.
So much.
Yeah.
I still like grapple with the idea of like, was that like ethically okay to put on? Like, it's a lot.
It is.
It's a huge subject matter to talk about. You know, especially bullying and especially like with teens and suicide and all of that. It's insane, and it really got to me. I couldn't watch that scene, the end scene. Spoiler alert, I couldn't watch it. I had to skip it because I was like, I'm so bad with blood and stuff. But it's funny because I think like for so much people, like, it's just acting and you just get up and you just finish and you go home. And I'm like, it's not always like that. I know for me, I'm pretty good at just getting out of character. But I think Catherine said that, they had like they had a counsellor on set. Yeah. And they all, got to speak to someone. And I think that that's almost so important to make sure that you give that that to your actors or performers, because I can only imagine how doing some scenes like, you know, especially like, I can't even imagine doing a film like 12 Years a Slave, like that movie. Yeah. I never want to see that film again. Incredible film, but just traumatizing. And I can't even imagine for the African American actors in that, or not all African American, aren't some of them British as well. For the POC actors in there, I'm just like, I don't know how that would have been to play, to, you know, to go through that. That would have been traumatic, whether it's acting or not. And it's, you really hope that like people are looking after the mental health of their performers. And I think like even comedians and anyone in any industry, like mental health is such an important thing, and it's so wild that only just now it's like being looked after, almost like because of COVID, and people have had to be like, you know, locked in their houses, and they're like, okay, you get 20 free sessions now instead of 10. It's like, why wasn't it always 20? It's like, why didn't we always put, I guess there was always a stigma. Like I started talking to a psych this year because I was like, I just want to deal with my anxiety and talk this stuff out, just to be like, you know, I'm sick of suffering, like, or like making myself suffer because I can't get out of my own head. And I'm like, talking to someone else, it's like amazing how beneficial that is. But then you'll talk to some people and they'll be like, a psych, like I would never talk to a
Yeah,
psych, and it's
yeah,
like this shame
yeah.
thing, or like really
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
oh, like even my parents probably get a bit funny about it because it's like the time it was like there was something really wrong with you if you went to talk to
It's
a
just
psych.
kind of like just deal with it.
Yeah,
you
just
know
deal
what I
with
mean?
it.
Yeah,
Almost
yeah.
like
Yeah,
you need to get
suck it
over
up
it.
or
Yeah.
Yeah, suck it up. And that whole thing of like it means there's something really wrong with you if you're you know, talking to someone and I'm like, I'm sorry, but like I'd much rather talk to someone than like, I don't know, self-medicate myself
Yeah.
and like go out drinking trying to like numb myself or something. Like if that's what some people do. I mean,
It's also
not
just
me, but yeah.
having someone to confide in that you don't feel any, like there's no judgment there.
Of course.
You
'Cause
know,
even with
people can be
friends,
like, oh, talk to friends and stuff, and it's like, yeah, it's easy to say that, but for that person to like, you know, openly speak about how they feel to someone
Totally.
that, you know, I don't know, just friends and family, you might have a friend you can confide in, but
Yeah.
at the same time, like,
Oh, and it's so you don't never know how they're gonna take
Yeah,
it
yeah,
or like what
exactly.
you know, and it's also, I guess, like I'm definitely learning to be a bit more like this, but like I feel as if sometimes you feel like you're burdening people, or like as well,
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes I don't put myself first a lot of the time. So sometimes
Yeah.
you're like, there's only so much your friends can do. Like we're not trained
Yeah.
professionals as well.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's so important just to talk to someone, to just, I don't know, put the thoughts out there, and then it's not like you being like, oh God, I'm so sorry, is that really ridiculous? Like,
Yeah,
is that really
yeah.
silly that I'm saying that? Or, oh, I know that I've spoken about this 4 times to you. And it's like, you never feel this judgment because you're paying this person to listen
Yeah.
to you and almost give you advice. I know it's like, you know, obviously free sessions and stuff as well. But yeah, I think it's so important for everybody in general. Everybody should be talking to someone, regardless of whether they're okay or not okay.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
it's amazing how I just feel better already. Because I honestly, like being in Sydney, it's such a like fast-paced city. You don't stop. And I would come back here for like holidays, like Christmas and like important birthdays or whatever. And it'd be like this little vacation. And I'd be like, but I'm only here for 5 days, and like rushing to see people. When you go back and like, again, you just don't stop.
Yeah.
And it's that whole thing of like, especially when you do something like acting or comedy, you're constantly trying to hustle and be in the industry.
Yeah.
But you don't want to take a break because you're like, I don't want to be irrelevant.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't want to not
Miss
be
out on an
miss out on
opportunity or
opportunities.
something.
You say yes to everything. And I think that's why this year, I feel so bad saying this, one of the best years that I've had, because I know it's been such a horrible year for a lot of people. But it's almost, there has been moments where it hasn't been great for me. Like my mental health was still not 100% because I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, and then even though you get like an act, like a little, you know, amazing thing, like a viral video and all this stuff, it's like great. But then I'm still stuck in this mode. And I think I've been like this since I was a kid. I used to do so many extracurricular activities. Like I would be like going from like ballet to gymnastics, and then I'd be like late to pre-primary.
Yeah.
So I'd be like, sorry, I've been at ballet. Like I was like, what, 4? Like what the hell? What was I doing? Like I was like 5 years old and I was like, sorry, I'm late, guys. Like who the hell did I think I was? I think that's just the way that I've been programmed. But it's this whole thing of like, you've got to be busy and you've always got to be doing something. Otherwise, like, what are you doing,
What
or
are
what
you
are you
doing?
working
Yeah.
towards? And it's like, we actually got told this year, like, just fucking do nothing for a bit. And it's kind of been like, it's great to just learn to like be content with that.
Yeah.
And sit at home and be like, oh, it's actually okay to not do anything. You don't have to go out every night. You don't have to like be seen on social media every night. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
we definitely live in like a capitalist society. Sorry, getting so deep, but it's like that whole thing of like, I've got to constantly be doing something. Like, what are you doing? Wait, hold, I've got to one up that person.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
it's like, it's not helping anybody. We're all sabotaging each other. Like,
Yeah,
so do you
definitely.
guys have like full-time, are you guys full-time jobs or?
Yeah. Well, student
Oh,
and
cool.
work
Yeah,
full
yeah.
time as well. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm currently like, sounds so bad, but like getting free money, like I'm still like working, like I'm babysitting and gigging and stuff, but obviously I had to go on job seeker because
Yeah.
my job closed. I was just working retail, but yeah, and like it's almost like, you know, I'm basically saving up and looking for jobs in Sydney, and obviously being like getting really antsy now. I'm like, I want to get back. I want to get
Yeah.
back to Sydney, but then I'm like, why? Like just relax. Like you'll be back in no
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And no doubt when
yeah.
you get back there, it's just going to be go again.
Totally. And I need to keep reminding myself of that it's like, just enjoy, like Perth's pretty chill, Like, we're very lucky to be here,
Yeah.
especially at this time, and
Yeah.
enjoy it for what it is. Like,
Yeah,
I've almost been
definitely.
on like a little stand up like boot camp, because
Yeah.
I've had nothing else to do except stand up and little comedy videos that I've just been like, that's all I've been doing. And I think I've been able to progress. I'm like, I need to look at it from that point and be like, it's okay, like, you'll be back to normal soon.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you'll probably be like, fuck, wish I was chilling out in Perth.
Yeah,
But
kicking back.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
Perth, yeah.
no.
We've definitely got it very, very good over here.
No, we do. And
Yeah.
I never want to like bag Perth by being like, I think this week I just got a bit antsy because I feel like everyone's back to normal a bit. Everyone's got their full-time jobs or their like relationships. I'm like, there's no point in me even dating here. I'm going back in January. Like, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And like, there's no point getting a job now, like a proper job,
Yeah.
because I know that I'm looking for stuff over there. And I think I just was a little bit like, it sounds so like, oh my God, like no one cares about me. Like I'm all by myself. Like it's so silly. Like it's so silly. But, like, of course you're going to have those moments. And I
Yeah,
think you got to
I
let
can
yourself have those moments and be like,
Yeah.
you're allowed to be down sometimes and you
Yeah,
don't have to feel
100%.
like everything's okay. Or pretend everything's okay. I think that's what we're so used to doing as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
How's
Putting up
things?
a front.
Fine.
Fine, so good,
Yeah.
everything's great. Like,
Yeah.
and it doesn't have to be like, you know, it's or just like learning to take a break, like just like actually turning off your phone or you know, because I got that pressure after the videos that I was making. I was like, I've got to make another fucking video.
Yeah,
Everyone's
Keep
watching.
the ball going.
Yeah, and then it was like, no one cares. It's like, yeah, sure, I'm sure they might care a little bit, but I was like, I don't, like, it's quality over quantity.
Yeah.
Even the one that I made, the most recent one, it like didn't do as well probably as like the Basil video or the AFL one, because it wasn't like a, you know, a newsworthy thing. It was like just me, you know, making sort of fun of people who want to be in Paris. I was like, this is for everybody who wants to be in Paris right now. Like, it's little me just showing off that I can do accents and acting. And I was like, this is just more for me. And I was like, oh, people probably don't like it, or they're probably like, where's like the Melania Trump skit that you said you're going to do? But
Yeah.
I'm like, well, fuck you. Like, this is my page and I'm going to, you know, if I've got the time, make something, but don't put pressure on myself to like,
Yeah.
Jesus, like, what am I, a machine? Like, it's silly, making it sound like I'm like Dave Chappelle now. I'm like, and they wanted me to do my show, and I was like, I'm cancelling the show. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I'm not even close to that. No
Success
way.
has become too much.
It's too much. I'm too famous. It actually is really funny though how I'm like laughing so much. Like last night I was so embarrassed. After the musical, I watched. I couldn't find my car in the car park, and I went up to these girls and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry, girls. Like, what level are we on? Like, I can't find my car, blah, blah, blah." And then I found it, like, I walked all the way around. It ended up being, like, behind where we were. How embarrassing. Like, literally, like, you know how the car park, like, there's, like, and I was like, oh, my God, I'm so embarrassed. And then the girls that I was talking to, one of them commented on my Basil video being, like, car park queen, and tagged her two friends that she was with. And I was like, oh, my God. Like, they knew who I was. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. And she was like, oh, I felt bad being like, I'm a fan of yours. And I was like, this is what it's like. This is showbiz. it's so like, it's obviously, I'm sure it's very different, but it's just funny how Perth people like recognize me from even with the nose and the ears on. And it's funny, and almost being like, people like, I was too scared to say hello. And I was like, oh my God, no, like, I'm nobody. Like, say hello. I'm literally nobody. Say hi now, because I'm going to be so famous. What are you guys going to do when I actually am famous?
Yeah, and you're ignoring
I've got
everyone.
to ignore everyone. I've got security guards with me. Then what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Like, you guys are so lucky you got me on now.
I know.
Got in quick.
Thinking of the future.
I know. I was going to say, how did you guys even find my page? Do you have mutual friends?
Just comedy lounge.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think
Oh.
I just started following because we had Emo
Yes,
on,
yeah,
and we
yeah.
had Rory,
Yes.
and yeah, just through like following Perth comedians kind
Yeah,
of thing. 'Cause
yeah.
we've always been in the music scene, and so a lot of our guests have been like, you know,
Like,
different
yeah.
artists.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
So we were like, oh, you know, we'll try and get into the comedy side of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, ended up coming. I think It was before the AFL Grand Final video.
Oh, cool.
That I came across
yeah.
you, and then that came out, and I was like, "Shit! Like,
Who is this?
Yeah.
Who is this girl? No,
Yeah.
kidding. But how cool. Yeah. No, it's so funny the way social media works. I'm like, how did that person even find me? Like, it's so, when I got your message, I was like, oh, hey guys. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I'll go on a podcast. I was like, it looks so professional.
I'll go on the podcast. How much am I getting paid?
I was like, how much do I get paid for this? Hello. I was so close to making that joke on the Today Show, and I like didn't do it. I was like, I got like frazzled and like didn't say it. And I was like, damn, it would have been so funny if I was like, and how much am I getting for this?
Yeah.
That's the thing. You always have those regrets. You're like, oh, I should have said that.
Think of it just afterwards.
I know. That's the only problem with like doing comedy. You're like, sometimes you go, fuck, I should have said that. But you know, it's all right. You got to be in the moment.
You got one off with the Ricky Nixon joke anyway.
I can't believe that came out. But when I said it, I was like, and I've made it. Like, no, I didn't. I literally was like, oh my god, because the way they reacted to it, I freaked out. I was like,
it was hilarious.
Watching it, I thought the same thing. I was like, shit, like what? How are they going to handle this at the moment?
Because I was like, that's what Carl wanted. I just was doing what he wanted.
Carl was hilarious.
I used to think he was an idiot. And now I'm like, I actually love Carl. I think because he has a crush on me. So I'm like, okay, you're okay. I was like, you're all right. After he was like, my mum noticed it and I didn't notice it. And I thought he was just saying wow about the video. But when I came up on screen, he goes, wow, like that. I don't know if you guys have seen it. I edited a video. It was so funny. My mum was like, did you see that he said that when you came on screen? And I was like, I didn't even look that hot.
Oh my God.
I was laughing so much.
Carl.
I know he's he's so sneaky. No, not cancelled. I'm like, I'm the third wife. I'm waiting. I'm like this going.
If anything, we should be promoting Carl.
Thank you, Carl, my new husband. So silly. I'll send you guys the video. You're gonna be like, really, Elouise? That's. I was like, it's my mum, not me. What about you guys though? Would you ever do comedy?
Yeah, I'd like to do it.
Yeah.
Line,
I think you'd probably give it a shot before I gave it a shot. I think it's right up your alley.
Yeah, every day of Jade's life is comedy, so...
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I was going to say...
My life is a comedy of errors.
I feel like it's like, isn't that like the rule of being a white straight guy? It's like, you got to do comedy.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's the rule. That's like, isn't it like, yeah. Oh, yeah. You got me there. You got him there. Got him. Oh, no, but that sounds so mean, but I was like, that's one of my jokes as well.
Yeah. I'm a white straight man. I deserve this,
yeah.
Right?
Exactly. Isn't that the way it works?
Yeah.
That's my closer is like on my I've like posted it as the Michael Jordan meme of him watching the iPad.
Oh yeah.
And it's my joke where I say, you know, there's just like way too many white straight guys doing comedy. It's like you're not all gonna make it. It's like World War I, except you don't have to do this. And people don't like that joke. People don't like that joke, and they think it's like a joke about World War I. And I'm like, no, it's not about that. And the amount of times I'm like, guys, the Anzacs aren't here. They can't hear us. And people go like, oh, how dare you? It's like, it's 2020. Like,
there is actually a draft for young white men, though. When they grow up, there's a draft to become a comedian. You have to do it.
Well, that's the thing. I was like, unless, like, is there a, yeah, well, that's my joke, and it seems to piss people off. It's like, it's
two options. It's comedy or podcasting.
Well, yeah, or both. No, but it's great that you guys, like, it's such a cute setup. I absolutely love how professional it is. This is the most professional pod I've been on. As in, like, you guys filming it.
Pretty low bar.
Yeah.
No, this is, I was going to say, fuck, I'm going to tell everyone in Sydney and be like, what the fuck are you guys doing? We're sitting around a table in your kitchen. Yeah. Please. I'm getting filmed. I've got lighting.
Kitchen's over there.
Yeah,
this is my lounge room.
This is the lounge room. This is way better.
Yeah. But I can get the gas stove out if you want to.
Of my favourite rappers, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. Who's your favorite rapper's really hard to talk about, but like who would be your top 5 maybe?
Ghostface Killer has to be in there.
Oh my gosh, of course. Did you see him when he went to Toastface Griller?
No, I missed that.
How wild was that? I was working that day and I was like, fuck, like, and I told him when I saw at the Opera House, I walked out and he was standing outside and I was like, Ghostface, you came to Toastface Griller, and he was like, yeah, I did, like that.
Fuck.
I was like, do you remember that? And I was like filming him and he was like, yeah, I did. It was great. And I tagged Toastface Griller and they reposted it.
Oh shit, I've got a mate who works there who reckons they hit him up about coming back, but he wants way too much money.
Oh, of course. Oh, yeah. He's not stupid. He's not stupid. But yeah, Ghostface is great. Oh, sorry, my shoes. I love Method Man though.
Yeah, Meth is
Fuck, he's
undisputable.
amazing.
Yeah. I'd say Method is probably my favourite.
He's
out of
probably
Wu-Tang.
just one of the most, what's the word, consistent rappers of all
He's
time.
insane. He's
Yeah.
also so hot, but he's married. But he's like something about him. I'm like, what the? Obviously, like Old Dirty Bastard is like, fuck. He was so great.
Yeah.
So great. Just like it's almost like it's not just about how good you can rap. It's like the charisma, like the stage
whole,
presence,
like, singing and shit like that, or trying to sing.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's so something about it. It's wild. And obviously Kendrick. I'm such a big fan of Kendrick.
Who else would you put in your top 5 then?
Missy Elliott.
Oh,
She's
nice.
so good.
Straight away as well. Didn't even think about it.
I can't not think about it. She's just like, if just as even just like a producer, like she's insane, so good. And then even like, I know she gets so much shit, but Azealia Banks, like, I just love the way she, and Megan Thee Stallion, amazing, like so good. Like as in watching her. Have you seen her cipher? I can't remember where it was. It would have been in Texas or something, or Atlanta, or I can't remember. But she's like, there's all these guys, and then there's her, and you're like no wonder she's blown up. Like she's
it
insane.
must be the XXL.
I was thinking that, or
like,
like
yeah, one of the
same backpack or something.
It's just like
that.
it's pretty like, I don't know what year it's from, but so good. And then even like, I don't know, I love a bit of Gold Link.
Yeah.
Love
Gold
a bit
Link's
of
dope,
you know, I'm trying to think of like who else recently that I've like been listening to a lot of.
Do you like J. Cole?
I do love like a few of J. Cole songs. I'm not like J. Cole, like I've got to, I don't know. I think he's great though. I think, you know, when you just like listen to a few songs, you're like, I love those songs, but I haven't listened to his whole repertoire.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just like not a, I'm not like a diehard, like, you know, some people are like diehard, like Drake fans and stuff. I'm like, yeah, he's good, but I'm not like screaming.
Yeah.
I'm not like going, Drake! Like, I'm obsessed with you. Like, I think he's great, but I'm not screaming down the street saying his name.
Messaged me as well.
Yeah.
Drake messaged me too. Well, I actually have a story about him. My friend was like at his show when he was at, this is the story of being a hot girl life. My friends were at his show, like I think when he was doing like Future Music or something, and he came out. He was in Perth, and they were like front row. His security picked out them. They went to the Crown, took them to dinner at Crown, like at Nobu, and then apparently like he tried to like get one of my friend's friend to go upstairs with him, and like in such Drake fashion was like really upset when she was like, no, I have a boyfriend. And he's like, but like I'm Drake, and was like really upset about it. Like apparently that's what he was like. He was going like,
And then he wrote Marvin's.
yeah, and then he was like really, and it was about her, and it was about her not going upstairs at the Crown. But apparently he was like being like a big baby about it and being like, "Ugh," and like went and sulked up in his room.
That's hilarious.
How wild is that?
That
I
is
was
such a
pissing
Drake thing, eh?
and I was like, that is so on brand. I was like, I'm impressed.
Him just in the strip club pouting, just making
Yeah,
it
can
rain.
you imagine? I'm
Or
like,
miserable.
hello? I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck? It's insane. Like,
No shit.
wild. Absolutely wild. But also, are we surprised?
No.
Not really. Oh, you know what I've been listening to lately a lot of? Like Jurassic 5.
Yeah.
Oh, real?
Throwback.
Love. I don't know why, but listening to like Concrete Schoolyard a lot because like, obviously I just love the Ike Turner sample. It's so good.
Take it back to the
Concrete
concrete
streets.
Yeah.
They're live MCs. Yeah, it's so good. I'm trying to think of like what else. I don't know. I listen to quite a bit of hip hop actually now I'm thinking about it. I'm listening to a lot. Yes. Oh my god. So yeah. I just like, do you know the it's called Get Nasty. That's the sample.
Yeah.
Ike Turner. It's so good. That's actually one of my favorite hobbies is like finding the samples of hip hop songs. I just love.
All right.
They're so good.
You get to throw down a verse afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like I don't know, because I love funk and soul and like all of that. So it's so fun when you find like the sample and you're like, damn, that's a really good song. No wonder they chose that.
Yeah.
You know?
I know.
It's great. But yeah, I don't know. There's so much. It's overwhelming.
Yeah, sampling is like the hard, like, because we produce quite a bit.
Oh,
and,
really?
like,
Yeah.
Trying to find like you were saying, you'd hear a song and it's like hell good, and you're like, oh, of course they used it. But
Of
then it's
course.
like once it's been used,
Oh, how
it's
can you
sort
use
of
it
like,
again?
yeah, it's like, what do you
That's
do?
what I was going to say, is that song by Roy Ayers, Everybody Loves the Sunshine.
I
Yeah.
love that
How
song.
many times has that been sampled? And people just keep finding different...
Yeah, they
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
That new,
Yeah.
the new Joey Badass song, that Shine song, is like probably one of the better
That's
flips of it I've heard.
Sometimes you like hear, yeah, when you hear something, you go, actually, they did it better. Isn't that
Yeah.
wild when that happens? You go, actually, like there's a new Megan Thee Stallion. I just did a hip hop class, and the song has the same sound. It's like a Biggie. It's a sample from a Biggie song. Oh my god, what Biggie song is it? That's so bad
It's
of
not
me.
Who Shot You, is it?
Yes.
Didn't she get shot by Tory Lanez?
Yeah. And
Oh,
that's,
yeah,
that's
no
the
shit.
that's the sample that she's used.
Oh, real?
Yeah. It's really good. But also at the same time, I'm just like, then all I can think about is like his like, but it's so good because it's her take on it. But then I just like
You
I
can
love
just hear
Pharaoh Monch
his-
and like
Oh yeah.
then Little Kim did Black Friday, like I had that Nicki Minaj diss and used that sample from like Simon Says.
Oh,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
so
fucking a Godzilla sample, apparently.
Yeah, it's like from
I'm pretty
the
sure he lost a
soundtrack.
shitload of money for it as well.
Fuck. Oh, worth it.
Yeah.
It's one of my
fuck
favourite.
yeah.
It's
a
so
classic.
good. Do love it.
Well, we've been going for 2 hours.
Oh my god, have
and-
we?
2.5.
Fuck, I talk too
Yeah.
much. Sorry,
It's been
guys.
good.
Yeah, that was
Um,
fucking solid.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you want to wrap it up? Get off of these chairs? Cause,
Yeah, my spine's starting to go out of alignment again.
It's
Yeah.
all
I'm going to have
good.
to call my
Um,
osteo.
Come the chair, then it will soon.
I hope that I said interesting, funny things.
no, you did. Definitely
Yeah.
did.
No,
Do
that
you
was a
have
fucking-
shows coming up?
I don't have any shows. I might just be doing some gigs at Fringe before
Yeah.
I head back. But I'm just doing like female comedy, Freo Comedy Factory next Thursday, as well as like I'm doing the Gong before as well. But that's probably it for 2020.
Yeah.
In Perth, and then
Fuck yeah, that's right. It's Christmas soon. Eh?
I know it's scary
Yeah,
how
you
quick it's
forget-
come. I'm
I
like,
know.
fuck, like
Yeah.
it's so scary that it's like literally tomorrow. I'm like far out. So I don't know why I was getting so like, nah, I'm stuck in Perth. It's like,
Yeah.
babe, like everyone's gonna be here soon anyway. All my friends are
Yeah,
coming back over.
yeah.
I have to quarantine. Apart from that, like, yeah, I'm not really doing. I don't even know. Hopefully Fringe gigs happen. Like I'm like, yeah, they're happening, but then I'm like, are they? Like I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
I've
like
seen some advertised.
yeah, that's more people, I think, advertising their shows. That's the only problem. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not doing a solo show yet because I just feel like it's too rushed. I
Mm.
was hoping maybe to do a split bill, but even then, I'm like, I don't know who would complement the persona
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
on that
Yeah.
level. I feel like it's like, have to be a like specific person, or I'm like, I want to do this solo show that I was telling you guys about. Like, I have
Yeah,
all these
yeah.
ideas, and I'm like, I've got to
Yeah.
do it. But I think people rush doing an hour these days because they're
Yeah.
like, I've got to have an
You
hour.
wanna- yeah,
It's
I was
like,
going to say, you want to
fuck.
make sure you're happy with it as well.
Oh, totally. And not just do
Before
it for
you,
the sake of doing a
yeah.
fringe show and be like, I've done
Yeah.
a fringe show. I was like, do you know how many fucking, like, not talented
Yeah.
people can do... No,
Do
anybody
fringe.
can do a fringe show. Doesn't mean that you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, facts.
That's
Um,
a fact.
That'd
But
probably be like the perfect format for one of those shows, hey?
Yeah.
Fringe.
totally. And so I'm thinking maybe Sydney Comedy Festival. I'll try and put it on first. And then,
Yeah,
you know,
fucking
I'm
oath.
hoping
Go
borders
from
will be
there.
open soon and I'll come back and perform it. We'll see. But
Yeah.
yeah, but thank you so much, guys, for having me.
Yeah, thanks
No,
for coming out.
Cheers for
Honestly,
coming
It's
out.
been a pleasure.
Yeah, it's so nice to meet you guys and talk some really important issues.
Yeah. We have talked a lot of important
We
issues.
have. Am I the first girl on the pod?
You are.
Yes.
Oh my god, I'm honoured.
I mean,
Yeah. Good one.
He's roasting.
Oh, no.
We love a little roast.
that's what I'm here for. To
No,
shut
I
the
love it.
roast.
I'm glad that I've you know, this
Yeah.
is the groundbreaking.
Yeah, definitely.
No, we're actually not taking boys anymore. We've made
Yeah, I was
it
gonna say, sorry, exclusively
female.
females.
I'm
Yeah.
just gonna get you back on every week.
Hot until I go back. Yeah, I love that. I'm gonna be
Even
like,
when you
and
go
then it's
back.
gonna be my podcast. I'm gonna be like, hey guys, we changed the name of the podcast.
Jaden Elliott actually got me too'd. Here's some screenshots.
Into the hot girl lounge.
This is the Hot Girl Lounge, and great setup. Yeah, I might have to come back. Thanks,
Yeah, well,
guys.
thanks. Hope you've enjoyed the episode, and we'll be back next week.
Peace.